rupees, which we did, and we spent 600,000 rupees in relocating that. That's what you call internalizing environmental externality. And this hotel, the coffee shop is non-air conditioned. Similarly, the lobby is non-air conditioned. Of course, we have taken advantage of the ambient conditions of Bangalore, but how many hotels have done that in the past? But it's not just being energy efficient. By doing this, now I get into another subject of creating another indicator. What is the embodied energy of products and processes? What is the embodied water of products and processes? By not having air conditioning in these two locations, I've not only reduced my energy consumption, but in India, 87% of what is consumed by the thermal power industry, which is the energy guzzler. So if we wean ourselves from thermal power, we are reducing our water intensity too. In 2000, we installed the solar concentrate in our old head office, which cooks for 15 people in 45 minutes at a temperature of 150 degrees centigrade. And we had a dream that one day our hotels will operate with the sun. And from Nakona Oak Tree Grove, and this is the ITC Maurya in Delhi, where we have installed this 150-ton device, which generates 120 kgs of steam per hour and helps us to avoid use of 30 liters of diesel per hour. And we also have something called greening of the supply chain. We add value to our farmers by telling them how to reduce the use of pesticides, optimize the use of water, and thereby we help to enhance the yield of these farmers. These are some of the pictures of all that. I'm not getting into the details of that. Simple input sometimes you give them that if a tomato plant is kind of stuck with a stick and tied up, the yield of tomato goes up by 50%. Because if the plant is hugging the ground and the tomato is touching the earth, then it gets rotten very fast. Well, what are the strategies that we need to follow on a global scale to address the few challenges that we have? We have end-of-pipeline strategies, which is going to reduce the pressure on environment by a factor of 5. We have innovation, which will reduce the pressure on environment by a factor of 10. And we need systemic innovation. We need to operate on all three fronts. Tell me, what do you see in this picture? Very quickly. Very quickly. Sorry? It's a kettle. Very good. Anybody else sees something else besides the kettle?
An ornamental piece.
Ornamental piece. Okay, since we don't have interest of time, yes, it is a kettle, it's an ornamental piece, but the design is completely wrong. If I serve you tea in my hotel with the handle and the spout on the same side, you'll give me a kick in my butt. Now, why I'm showing you this picture is from two perspectives. I think we need to analyze the policies of our respective organizations and countries and see what are the policies which impact the environment. Again, taking it from my own country's perspective, we have a water problem in our country because water is poorly priced. And this is so in many parts of the world, except in Germany where they have an inflow meter and an outflow meter. A country which has abundant water, please note. And Singapore, where they are using sewage water for drinking. They are bottling it and selling water as new water. I think we are getting to that stage on waterfront in many areas. The whole idea is, how do you first reduce your consumption? I'll give you a very simple example of this in our ITC Green Center. We disconnected the water in our urinals, the gents' urinal, and we are saving 300 kiloliters of water there. And let me assure you, our bathroom doesn't stink because they put something called bio-block, which absorbs the smell of the urine, but water is not required. And then we have changed the tap in the wash basin for washing hands to what is akin to the aircraft. It's like a spray. So we reduce the flow rate from 6 liters to 2 liters per minute. And we have changed the soap, which was liquid soap earlier, to foam soap because they require less water. Now the size of the price is that we are saving 400 kiloliters of water, but that's not the size of the price. A lot of people come and visit our building, they like these ideas and they replicate it in their building. So one day this should become the standard globally to address the problem. And I keep telling the policymakers, if this idea is applied and if you do some calculation, just calculate how many dams you do not require, because making dams has become very difficult today. And it's important to focus on CSR, but the current form of CSR is I have some loose change and put somebody on the job, make a wall for somebody, make a toilet for somebody. That's not good CSR. Good CSR is when you give strategic mindset of your organization to address these issues. Try and go to the root cause of the problem, see how to address them. And I've given innumerable examples of that in the beginning itself. This is the menus that we have in CSR and ITC hotels. I'm not going to go to the details of it, but yes, we have started an initiative for people with disabilities. We took an approach, no sympathy for people with disabilities, only empathy, because empathy is embedded in our business. If you are my guest and if you complain, I empathize with you. We said, how do we shift this attribute we have in our business to the basement of the pyramid, that is the people with disabilities. And the girl on my left, Sujata, she is mobility impaired. And when she joined us, we thought we'd use her in our telephone department because she speaks well. But when we did a reality check, we found that she had to negotiate 15 steps. We said, oh my goodness, our hotel is physically disabled. And we started access audits in our hotels and reduced our physical disabilities by 85%, but not 100%. Therefore, we took a decision that all our future hotels are going to be universal in design. So these are some of the pictures of how we started. We were hesitant, we did not know anything about the subject, but today we have the confidence. They are all over the hotel, including a doorman who is hearing and speech impaired. His job is to smile and open the door for you, and he does it well. And we also then extended out to the BPO sector in Delhi region and requested them to give 6 by 6 square feet free space for people with disabilities so that they can start their own shop and take advantage of the 24/7 business which exists over there. These are the simple things that we can do through industry, provided you become extroverted. The problem with industry is it's very introverted in nature today. When we did all this, Government of India said, why don't you employ people with multiple disabilities? I remember we went for a 6. We didn't say yay or nay. We said, okay, let's look at this problem from another perspective and say, how do I create a job for the person without him or her coming to our hotel? So then we realized, and we use our triple bottom line lens, economic, environment, social dimension, and said, we are discarding flowers from many rooms after the guest has checked out. Don't discard flowers, give it to these people with multiple disabilities, and their ability is only to break the petals on the stem the whole day. And for doing this job, they get 2,000 rupees, and from the petals, organic colors are extracted and sold to textile industry. It's as simple as that, provided you open your mindset. We realized that having employed 300 people with disability in a country of 70 million is neither here or there, but we realized that there was nobody to hold our hands when we started this initiative. We said, nobody else should go through the same pain, so we wrote a 10-page book on how to employ people with disabilities in the industry, and you can please download it from our website. You'll be happy to know that entire hotel industry in India has started and many other sectors have also started. So what is innovation? Ability to take risk, break the existing industry norms. We broke the existing industry norms in an industry which deals with very sophisticated people and have employed people with disabilities. Demonstrate latent value not discovered by industry before. In the bargain, what's happened is we find that the attrition rate amongst people like you and me in hotel industry is 30 to 40%. But the people with disabilities, the attrition rate is only 2%. So the power language, they say base load and variable load, you're taking care of your base load, in a manner of speaking. Well, risk means the possibility of loss or injury, but if you never go out on a limb, you will not plug the best screws. The way to be safe is never to be secure. A ship is safe in the harbor, it's not meant to be there. And in conclusion, I'd like to say that whenever you start anything new, your mind will be blank like this. And as you go along, the picture will become black and white like this. And as and when you learn the art completely, the picture will become colorful like this. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ranjan. Brilliant delivery and great insights into what ITC has done over the years, and great learning experience as well. Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick admin note is if you have any comments, clarifications and so on, please feel free to jot them down and send it across here, because we want to leave it, or we don't want to take any questions off the floor as such, so I would really appreciate if you can just jot down your comments and thoughts, clarification that you would require from any one of the speakers. Our third speaker today in the morning is Robert Thomason. He is Executive General Manager Business Development for CP Australia. Rob has over 30 years of learning and development consulting and experience gained both in Australia and internationally. Having commenced his career in university management, Rob moved into corporate learning about 20 years ago. He has worked with and for professional associations, university corporate arms, and in the private sector, and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in designing, developing, promoting and delivering executive learning to business organizations to meet their goals and aspirations. Rob is currently on the executive team of CP Australia, responsible for new market development, and we in Sri Lanka, we work very closely with Rob. He has previously worked as General Manager and Professional Development, and Rob has worked for Fairfax Media, a very large organization in Australia, and was Director Executive Education with the Melbourne Business School. He has also held directorships including a US-based International University Consortium for Professional Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Thomason.
Thank you, Sajiwa. Professor Wadawala, thank you for the invitation to be here in Sri Lanka. Whilst we've had a long relationship with the two main bodies here in Sri Lanka, this is my first visit, but I'll be back later in the year to join Sajiwa and my colleagues from CARPA in our meeting. I think it's in November, late October, November, so I look forward to that. Colleagues from CARPA, from SAFA, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to be here to talk to you today about our journey, CPA Australia's journey along the integrated reporting pathway. What I hope to do today is tell you a little bit about CPA Australia, our journey, what's been involved in doing that, our contribution to the debate around integrated reporting, and finally just a few comments on what I see as a non-accountant, what I see as this being the renaissance of accounting in many ways. First about CPA Australia. We were founded in 1896, so it's 126 years ago. And as a professional body of accountants, we're very concerned to ensure that we're at the forefront of thinking around all aspects to do with accounting and accounting policy. And obviously that now impacts on integrated reporting. And William Crellin there is on your right. Was our founder. He was a migrant from from England to Australia, and I know that means that we're in company with a lot of the South Asian countries and having been colonised originally by the British. Very quickly about CPA Australia, I won't dwell too much, 139,000 members. Interestingly, our membership is increasingly growing offshore. Last year, 26% of our members are offshore. If we continue the trend of growth for CPA Australia, the average member of CPA Australia will be an Asian female. And that's a long way from 1896 when it was 27 or 28 white Anglo-Saxon men. We're focused on growing our membership, we're focused on increasing our audience, and we're focused on being the best service organisation in the world. Our member retention is some 95%, so once somebody becomes a member of CPA Australia, they stay with us for some quite a long time. So integrated reporting. It's probably important at this point just to mention that Alex Malley, my CEO, has just been appointed to the Council of the International Integrated Reporting Council, and that's pretty important. Those who follow the politics of what's happening in sustainability reporting will know that the International Integrated Reporting Council is predominantly UK with a few US members, so getting somebody from the Asia-Pac region on the council is very important. And I bring greetings from Alex. I also bring greetings from John Carr, who I should have mentioned earlier. John, as well as being our president, is the Deputy President of PAIB, Professional Accountants in Business at IFAC. Either one of them would have been here today, other than our board meeting is actually meeting in Melbourne as we speak. So back to my presentation. According to the International Integrated Reporting Council, an integrated report should reflect the connections between the economic, social, environmental, governance and financial factors and their impact on the long-term performance of a company. This kind of reporting, which includes non-financial reporting, is part of the evolution of an accountant's role, as it broadens to elucidate the linkages between an organisation's strategy, its governance, and its financial performance, and its performance within a social, environmental and economic context. It's our view as CPA Australia that it's the accountants who will start to drive the collection and dissemination and audit of non-financial data. So that will broaden the role of the accountant from being only one who reports on financial data to one who reports on the broad basis of a company's performance. So as thought and practice leaders for the profession, CPA Australia has been modelling our own internal systems for our own management reporting to better understand the challenges of integrated reporting and the changing role of accountants. It's our strong view as a professional body, if we're not providing guidance to our members won't be able to respond to the needs of their stakeholders, so employers, governments, investors and the community to act in the public interest. Obviously, in talking about integrated reporting, we take into account what's going on through the Global Reporting Initiative, which provides a series of benchmarks and indicators that we've used and other organisations who are going down this path have used, so that in the future we'll be able to better understand benchmarking and better understand comparative performance. So in tandem with producing sustainability reports for the last 3 years, we began building our CSR capability across the business. This was to measure and reduce our environmental impact by providing employees with training and development in a safe and supportive work environment, recognising the impact on our communities where we operate and attempt to make positive influence through procurement and other activities. By mid-2011, we integrated our non-financial and sustainability issues into our management reports to the board. So we report on a monthly basis now to our board in a single report which integrates not only our financial data but our integrated reporting data into one report. And we're working pretty hard as a senior management team to better understand the relationship between those non-financial disclosures which we're providing to the board as well as our financial reporting. Up until 2012 or our 2011 annual report, we'd been producing separate integrated reports reporting on our non-financial data. In 2012, and there's some copies available down the front here, we produced a fully integrated annual report which talks about our non-financial reporting indicators as well as our financial reporting indicators. We went through a fairly detailed process with our board and with senior management to determine which indicators we would use in terms of our financial reporting. We decided to start off small, and my advice to any organisation who's considering starting to report on non-financial indicators is to start small. Don't try and do too many things at once. We found we've been building them up slowly, so the number of indicators we started off with was only 3 or 4. We're now up to 13 or 14 indicators. We found that to try and get staff to respond appropriately so that staff could understand what we were trying to do in terms of the financial or non-financial reporting disclosures, and also obviously to get our stakeholders on board, by starting slow and slowly building, we were able to actually get far better alignment between all of our stakeholders and the information we were providing. We obviously report not only on our economic indicators but also the social impact that we believe that we're having and trying to indicate that. To help CPA Australia members to become integrators from a reporting perspective, we provided leading edge examples of how we might go about integrated reporting in their own spheres of influence. I thought what I'd do is highlight to you some aspects of our annual report so you get a feel of the direction that we've taken in our own financial and non-financial reporting. So our annual report for last year was our 125th year, our annual report for 2011. It's been now recognised and not just by our own stakeholders but by a range of government and non-government bodies as excellence in government reporting. We've used integrated reporting performance management to report on our CO2, carbon dioxide, our management, our procurement policies, our governance, our financial health and the health and well-being of our people. And this form of reporting has had a profound influence on discussions at the management level. We've developed a blueprint to embed the responsibilities for sustainability in the business as usual approach and are now at the implementation stage. We don't have an individual who is responsible for our non-financial disclosure or for our sustainability initiatives. That's embedded into the performance contracts and the KPIs of senior management. So I have a range of KPIs associated with our non-financial reporting, as do my colleagues on the executive team. Our budgeting planning process templates now include a sustainability section, and we value and recognise that our employees and encourage their development whilst maintaining our organisational goal. At CPA Australia, the term sustainability incorporates our management of natural, human and financial resources. Further, it integrates our sustainable relationships with our stakeholders. That's our members, our employees, our suppliers, our influencers, our regulators and the community. We encourage our stakeholders to follow suit by encouraging businesses to integrate their financial and non-financial reporting and decision making, to recognise the impact on the communities in which organisations live and work, and by attempting to make a positive difference, by providing employees with training and development in the safe and supportive environments in which they work, and measuring and reducing our environmental impacts whilst encouraging others to do the same. You may not be able to see that in detail, but that's from one of the first pages in our annual report, which gives an indication that at the top level of our financial performance as an organisation, through our revenue streams, so that stakeholders understand the exposure we have in our various revenue lines, and then down to our GRI indicators in terms of the non-reporting aspects of our annual report. So I mentioned earlier, we did spend some many weeks and months with the board trying to understand what the board saw as being important to them to understand the performance of our organisation, and our members who pay their subscriptions, so very obviously stakeholders in our organisation, to understand what they saw as being important indicators for them to determine the performance of our organisation. We obviously have a range of energy and CO2 data. One of the challenges for us in the non-financial disclosures has been changing our systems and processes to measure these matters and altering behaviours in our workforce to include them as part of our regular performance oversight. Some of the other challenges with integrated reporting for accounts are the emphasis given to communicating the risk of uncertainty, the time horizons involved, and we've been on this journey now for 3 years, the measurement and communication in the idea of connectivity, and drawing the internal practices together with our external presentation of data. This has forced us to test our systems, processes and our historical behaviours to ensure that we're living in the way that we said we would. We obviously present also a series of non-financial reporting indicators around our workforce, and this has probably created the most discussion with our board in terms of how we manage the workforce of the organisation in the way that the board would want us to manage the workforce. That's a little bit about what we've done. As I said, there's full copies of the annual report down to your right on the stage, and the full report's also available on the website if people want to see how a small, medium-sized organisation, if you like, with a significant number of stakeholders has addressed the issue of integrated reporting. A little bit about how we are assisting our members. CPA Australia was the first accounting body to produce a sustainability report, and it had it independently assured and cross-checked by the GRI. And interesting, another challenge, which I should have mentioned earlier, was actually having these non-financial reporting indicators audited. We probably spend more time on the audit of our non-financial reporting indicators than we do on our financial indicators. I think that has something to do with the newness or the uniqueness or the novelty of integrated reporting. It also has to do with the systems that are established within our organisation to capture and measure the data and to assure the correctness and accuracy of that data. So that was something which we didn't foresee as we went down this journey. As I mentioned earlier, we've been producing sustainability reports for the last 3 years, and now we've moved to the point of integration into our annual report. I think the next step for us, candidly, is having a better understanding between our non-financial indicators and our financial indicators. And I think that's a challenge for all organisations to understand the direct correlation between the data which we're capturing. In 2011, we were nominated for the Australian Centre for Corporate and Social Responsibility as one of the top Australian and private companies for our CSR capability and for ethical business behaviour and social accountability. We've established collaborative relationships with 2 leading universities to develop training for accountants in carbon reporting and energy efficiency. And next year we will release a new piece of research titled Sustainability Reporting, Practice and Performance. The research has been conducted in collaboration with the GRI, and it examines financial and non-financial disclosures and securities behaviour by the ASX, Australian Stock Exchange, the FTSE, the Hang Seng, looking at the top 50 companies. This piece of research is being conducted by one of Australia's leading universities, and it's been commissioned by CPA Australia. An earlier version of the report is available on our website, and we're seeking to establish or to identify current practices of sustainability and triple bottom line reporting. And we're also in the process of developing sustainability assurance tools for SMEs, recognising that issue we have around having our non-financial reporting actually audited. We provide policy and research and assurance tools for small and medium-sized enterprises on our website, and share our knowledge by means of commissioned papers such as those I've listed on the screen. There's also a few papers down on your right at the front of the stage as well. That there's very few there, but they are all available in full in PDF versions on cpaaustralia.com.au. So I encourage you, if you are interested in understanding a little bit more about the journey which we've been on, I'd encourage you to make use of those materials which are on our website. So CPA Australia has a social responsibility to produce technically competent professionals that adhere to particular ethical standards and reporting methods which underpin sustainable businesses internationally. For example, in carbon pricing being introduced in Australian business as a matter of practice, accountants need to adapt methodologies and set up assurance practices. Perhaps the most difficult part of the journey towards this business as usual embedding is changing behaviour, is changing systems and processes to manage our impact on resources. However, we're convinced that embedding and integrated reporting can lead to behavioural change. And it's our view, as a professional body for professional accountants, that this is, if you like, a part of the accounting renaissance. It's an opportunity for accountants to take hold of not only the financial reporting of their organisation, but the non-financial reporting of their organisation, to do that in a way, to do that non-financial reporting in a way that you would do it for financial reporting, to assure accuracy, to ensure transparency, to assure professional practice, and that would lead to the development, we think, of the renaissance of the accounting profession. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for that insight into what CPA has been doing in Australia, and also initiatives you have taken to spearhead integrated reporting. And thank you for 3 speakers. We started off 5 minutes late, but we are actually well within the time slot allocated to us. Happy to take a few questions, and we've already got a couple of questions for Chulendra. Do you want to take 2 of those questions?
The 2 questions I've got is, in GRI requirements, revenue, operating costs needs to be disclosed. But when it comes to a private company, disclosing these details is not practical. But in order to publish an A-grade report, those GRI KPIs also need to be covered. Please advise. What we need to understand is that GRI does not require us to disclose any confidential information or in terms of operational information. What we do, though, is to identify the type of information that we require for our stakeholders. So let's take, for example, our electricity costs. It's not something that we do not disclose. That can be disclosed in that is some type of information that can be disclosed. In terms of revenue, the breakdown of revenue is not required, but what we need to show is how the revenue is received. What do we do? What are operations that actually contribute to that revenue? And what we try to show is the costs and the operations as a almost as a unit measure, as a operational factor. What we show, for example, in our reports is the revenue per room night, or we show the carbon footprint per room night. We disclose what our carbon footprint is. We disclose our energy and so forth. In terms of sustainability, there is also no need for a public disclosure if you are uncomfortable at making such a huge public disclosure. Private companies can practice sustainability. Sustainability doesn't have to be only a reporting mechanism for the public or for the community at large. My personal view is that sustainability needs to be because you want to do it. And in such a case, capture the information. You could report on what you need to report on. I encourage transparency even in private companies, but if that is a concern, use that information and improve yourself until such time you are in a position to report on that. I hope I answered the question. Is there anything further on that? Okay, the second question is, when you want it to be in line with international benchmarks, there should be a lot of radical changes and have to be taken into account. The process to be in line. The processes need to be in line with the benchmarks. How do you manage these changes at JKH? Like I said, what we do is once we identify our indicators and once we get the information in, we actually identify the benchmarks, and the benchmarks are actually available in the public domain. Once we get that, yes, change is a factor, definitely a big factor. But we pride ourselves at JKH that